Good morning. We'll start with goCrop tutorial today. My name is Lindsay. I work for UVM Extension. My contact information is placed here. You can contact me by email. My work phone and my cell phone are put there. I think Shannon will put those into the chat so you can have a reference to them as well. And then we also have a lot of information on our Northwest Crops and Soils Nutrient Management website. The URL is there as well. And part of the reason why I'm starting with my contact information up front is because, as you know, goCrop is a nutrient management planning tool, and I know that some folks might be working on it during non-traditional work hours, and I don't want a question that you might have about nutrient management planning or about how goCrop functions to impede your progress when you are ready to work on your nutrient management plan or enter records or any of those pieces that you use goCrop for. So this tutorial, we're really excited that version 4 is coming out. It's going to have a little bit of a different layout, some new bells and whistles and features, and I'm going to introduce a few of those to you today. But before I do that, I want to go over just a little bit of housekeeping. And one is, I want to know if folks are receiving emails. By now, you may have received maybe a couple from Susan, one from Shannon, and you should have received a few from goCrop support. And if you haven't been receiving any from goCrop support, please reach out to me and let me know. And it's really important that goCrop has a way to get in contact with you so we can let you know what features are coming up or are being released or any other updates. I personally right now manage that. And so I will try not to spam your inbox with goCrop support. You've probably been getting a lot of them in the last week or so, and you'll get 3 more next week because we're having this big change to goCrop with version 4, new goCrop. We really wanted to make sure that you knew it was coming and what to expect. So after that, the emails will taper off. But again, if you're not receiving emails from goCrop support, please reach out and let me know. We'll get you connected. Really important. Also, we are recording this tutorial. It will be posted online, so you can refer back to it at any time. I also want to give a huge thank you to the many people who have made goCrop possible. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our developer who has helped us walk through the decisions that we needed to make sure that we meet current requirements, current needs, but also have an eye for the future and how goCrop can support nutrient management planning and other parts of the farm operation. So Penelope Hobbs has been really wonderful and instrumental in helping goCrop be as successful as it is. I also want to thank my team here because they've done a lot of beta testing, a lot of thinking about how we can create a tool that's going to be really functional. And then, of course, also our farmers, our subscribers, not just because you're subscribing, but because your feedback really helps us improve goCrop. So with that, that's my next point here, which is if you see something, say something. Sometimes we don't know what you need or what would improve it until we hear from you. So please let us know if there's something that would help ease or smooth your use of using goCrop. On that note too, throughout this tutorial, feel free to interrupt me. You can unmute, ask a question, type it in the chat, and Shannon will interrupt me for you. It's really hard for me to see the chat. I don't see anybody's faces right now. So I'm going to need some help in making sure that I can answer questions as they come up, because I think as we move through the tutorial, the questions will probably be most relevant when we're in that spot. That said, if we're moving through something and 5 minutes later you have a question about something that we went over already, feel free to interrupt. We can always go back. But I want to make sure that you walk away with the information you need to feel good about using goCrop in its new form. So I want to talk a little bit about what I'm hoping to share today under objectives, right? I want to make sure that you've seen what the rollout timeline looks like, reiterate that. Hopefully you've seen that in the emails, provide a little bit of context for the goCrop changes. And then a really big part of it, probably the reason why you're here, is to see what version 4 is going to look like and to really focus on record keeping because we're now in that season, right? Many folks are in the field applying manure, maybe tilling, maybe planning on planting if you haven't already. So focus on record keeping, but also viewing your field nutrient plan so you know what you had planned to do, and then accessing reports. What I am not going to go over in this tutorial is how to update or edit your plans. That's a whole other separate piece. And if you haven't updated your plan, feel free to reach out to Extension. We're happy to help you to assist with that. And we also know that, you might make a plan way back in February, and then April, May, June hits, weather happens, other things happen, you need to pivot. If you ever need to update your plan and have some questions about it, also feel free to reach out to us. All right, so here we're going to talk about the rollout, the transition of V3 version 3 to V4 version 4, or as what you might have heard us refer to as old goCrop and new goCrop. So next Tuesday, April 29th at 6 p.m., we're going to retire version 3. So it's no longer going to be available. Then we're going to release version 4 on Thursday, May 1st at 6 a.m. So this is when version 4 will be available, May 1st, Thursday at 6 a.m. During this time, when we retire version 3 on April 29th, a Tuesday at 6 p.m., and when we release version 4, Thursday, May 1st, 6 a.m., goCrop will not be accessible. You won't be able to go into it through your browser or through the mobile app. I added this other animation here just to really drive that home. I think it's something like, I didn't do the math, but like a 36-hour period. My assumption is that not many folks will be needing it in that time in particular, but wanted to make sure that you knew that if you tried to get into goCrop during that time, you won't be able to. So on May 1st, when goCrop is released, it's going to be accessible through your browser. So that's going to be Chrome, Firefox, or Microsoft Edge. You've probably heard us say this before, but goCrop works best in Chrome, and there's a reason why I made Chrome, the Chrome icon, so large, because it's preferable. And it works all right in Firefox, and not quite as well as we'd like in Microsoft Edge, and that just has to do with how goCrop is supported in each one of those browsers. One part that won't be available starting May 1st or immediately is the mobile app. So if you're using the mobile app to enter records, you won't be able to access that anymore after April 29th. We will release a mobile app with a similar interface that you'll see today at a later date. And in the interim between May 1st and when that mobile app is released, we're going to have an offline version for you. So stay tuned, look for your emails, or look for emails that will tell you a little bit more about what to expect for that offline version of the mobile app. And just another note on the mobile app, if you are using it currently to input your records, make sure that your records have synced. And what I mean by that is that or what syncing is it's making sure that your data is consistent across different devices. So whatever records you have in your mobile app would show up in your browser. For a smooth transition, right now, we are recommending that you just enter all your records through the browser, through Chrome or Firefox and Edge, and wait to use the mobile app until we have a new version of that. So if you are using the mobile app and you've got some records, it's really important to make sure that it's synced. So to do that, you're going to open the app and you're going to sign in. We're checking to make sure that your mobile app has synced its records. I always want to say sunk there, but it's synced. So you'll log in, right? And then you'll see a list of farms. You'll probably only have one. This is a dummy account, so I've got a bunch of them. And then you're going to click these 3 horizontal lines in the upper left-hand corner. And then it's going to open up a sidebar menu. And I'll see down at the bottom left, if it's synced, it'll say up to date and when it last was in sync, like the band in 1990s, right? So say a few seconds ago, it might say 5.3 seconds, but it'll be pretty recent. If for some reason your mobile app is not synced, it'll look like this. And it'll have this little icon in the bottom, a little cloud with an exclamation point, and it'll say sync failed. So you can tap that area right there to try to prompt goCrop to sync. And if it's not syncing, maybe you're not connected to the internet or have mobile data upload, download, and that's what's preventing the sync. If you do have records in your mobile app and they're not syncing and you can't figure out why, get in contact with us and we'll try to troubleshoot that for you. Moving on to like context for goCrop changes. If you joined us before in January, we had a couple tutorials, and my question to you was like, why not? Why wouldn't we change up goCrop, right? We've had it for a while, it's fully functional, but we really wanted to give it a modern look. We wanted to streamline the process, a little bit more transparency on where to find things, fewer clicks, some new features to help ease the use. And then we also wanted to have a cross-platform user interface so that what you're looking at in the browser matches what you're looking up on mobile. And we wanted to stay current with ADA requirements. So what to be on the lookout for next for goCrop? Not everything will be released on May 1st. Like there's certain tools that won't be quite available. For example, the whole farm mass nutrient balance. That'll be released a little bit later, and so will grazing and the veg components. So be on the lookout in your emails for new features. And as those new features come online, we'll have some tutorials, we'll create user guides, and of course, we're around for technical assistance when you need it, or hopefully we're available when you need it. If we're not, we'll make the time to make sure that we are able to help you nutrient management plan and use goCrop. So that I'm going to move on to the tutorial. All right, so hopefully folks can now see my browser. Is that true?
Yes, we can see your browser.
Okay, thank you. So just like with old goCrop, you're gonna open up your browser, log into www.gocrop.com. It'll bring you to a page that might look a little different than this, but similar, and you'll click sign in. You'll enter your login email and your password and click login. The reason why I'm pausing here is because if you enter your email and your password and a little pop-up shows that says you need to confirm your email, that might mean it's been a while since you've opened up goCrop, and goCrop needs to know that it can contact you for relevant information. So we need to have a usable email, workable email on file. So if you get that little pop-up and it says you need to look at your email for confirmation instructions, you'll click this, didn't receive confirmation instructions, enter the email address you use to create your goCrop account. If it's been a long time since you've used that email, or you no longer have the email that you use to create your account, reach out to us and we can, we have some back channel ways where we can help get you reconnected to your account. But otherwise, you'll type in your email, click resend confirmation instructions. It'll send an email to the email that you put in there. And it might show up in your spam or your junk folder. So just look for through every part of your email account to make sure that it's not getting lost somewhere. But then you'll open up that email and follow the instructions. It's pretty quick. We're gonna go back to sign in. I'm gonna sign into my account here, pressing login. And just like the old goCrop, the first page you land on is a list of your farms, right? I only have one farm, and so it's listed here. Then in that line, you see that the permission setting for this one is an owner. I own it and manage it. And then this active is my license subscription is active. If you have an active account, you'll be able to update your plan, edit your plan, enter records, and generate reports. If your plan is not active or your subscription has expired, what we'll display here is work with this farm. If you have work with this farm, you'll be able to view your data, export your data, but you won't be able to update or edit your plan, enter records, or generate reports. You'll need to renew your subscription to have access to those other features. On the left is our main menu. And right now, all we see are these 4 categories. We have this button that says back to classic. You won't see that. This is a bit of a special account where I can go between version 3 and version 4. But on May 1st at 6 a.m., you're just going to have version 4 and you're not going to need to do anything to access it. It's just going to be there and you won't have the opportunity to go back. This is just a short-term thing on my account, so don't worry about it. We have this all farms, similar to old goCrop. We know we're in the all farms section because it's in dark green. And we also have the account where you can manage your account settings. And just like we saw on mobile, we have this cloud with a little check and it's letting me know that my browser is syncing. So without further ado, we'll go into our farm, just like you would an old goCrop. Oops, I went a little bit far back there. And this is the next screen that you see where it says, where it will have a list of your plans. And this is different from new goCrop in the layout. This is a new account, so I only have 1 year of plan, but for you, if you've been using goCrop for multiple years, you'll see every year you've had a plan listed below. It's also where you would start a new plan. The other two sections we have here on the left are records and farm assets. And like I said earlier today, I'm really going to focus on, I'm showing you the new layout of goCrop through entering records because we're kind of more in the record keeping season, not necessarily in the updating your plan part. And there are two ways to enter records, through the records section and the farm assets. And then we have the same other categories below, and they'll kind of stay there. One thing I'll just note here quickly is that if you, my screen, my computer screen is rather wide, and so I have a lot of display area right here. If you have a smaller screen and you want to have see more of the display area, you can collapse the screen sub or side menu by pressing this little beak or Pac-Man. So you can close it, and then you can press it again to expand the menu and bring it back. I'm going to leave it open as we go throughout this tutorial. So let's start with records. So when we click records, what we see here is a list of all of our records for all of our fields. So in this account, we've got fertilizer application, manure application, weather records, soil test, fertilizer analysis, and so on. And then, you know, really quickly, right, we're in records. We know that because it's green here. If you want to add a new record, you'll press the new record button in the upper right-hand corner. Now we have a second side menu, and it displays all of our weather records to the left. And again, if you want to have more display side of your screen, you can collapse that by pressing this little button right here on the left. And you can open it up again by, again, pressing that little sidebar menu. I'm gonna leave it open because I think that's kind of handy as we go throughout this tutorial, but there are a number of ways to increase your display size if that's what you need. All right, so just to go back for a moment, we were in our records section and we're adding a new record by pressing the blue button in the upper right-hand corner. And then we'll choose from the drop-down menu the record that we want to add. I'm going to go through about 4 of them, 4 of what I think might be the most commonly used records. And the first one I'll start with is the manure application. So we'll click that. And this form, if you're used to using goCrop, probably looks really familiar. We really haven't changed much with it because we still need the same functionality that we've always needed. So I've chosen my record above. I'm going to choose the location. The record date defaults to today, but you can change it by pressing this little calendar icon and then choosing your date anywhere within the calendar. You can also change it directly in the text as well. So 2 different ways there. And then just like before, you'll go through and you'll choose your manure source. And these are the same manure sources that you've entered into goCrop previously. You'll choose your recorded as if you want to do a rate, total, or loads. And then your incorporation method. This hasn't changed. So if you choose inject, it defaults right to immediate. If you choose moldboard, chisel, or disc, you get the options to input time to incorporation in hours or in days. And then of course, also you can choose not incorporated. And then when you inputted your information, you click save, or if you've started this and don't need it, you can click discard. So now I'll go to add my new record. And I will go through a fertilizer application. Again, I'll just enter, choose my field, keep the record date, or change it to whatever meets your needs. And then the application type, this is just standard from a drop-down default to goCrop. But then the fertilizer that you choose is one that are from the ones that you entered. So that will have the analysis that you entered associated with it. And again, just like in the manure application, you'll choose how you want to record that, whether that's as a rate, a total, or loads. If you choose loads, then you choose a spreader and the number of loads. And I just want to show you that if I click save and not all my information is filled out, goCrop will tell me immediately that it can't be saved because it's incomplete without this information. I'm going to need to fill it out in order for goCrop to save it. And then we'll just enter all the information just like we would before and click save. I'm gonna add a new record. The other couple that I want to go through is a harvest record. And here we'll, similar situation. You should be also pretty familiar with this form, but you'll choose your location, your record date, the crop that you are planning on harvesting. It will default to the crop that you have chosen in your plan. So I'm going to choose hopefully one that has hay, because that, it's early to harvest hay, but we're just going to put it in there. And then similar to your manure and fertilizer applications, when you're harvesting, you also have to choose how you're harvesting, whether it's a total, loads, bales, or bushels. But no matter what you choose, goCrop will help walk you through the rest of the information that it needs. So the last record that I want to show, and there are other records, right? We can see that there's fertilizer analysis, manure test, soil test, seeding record, tillage record, is the weather record. And similar to the ones that I just showed you, right? It's got the record date, it's got all the information that it needs to meet the reporting requirements. And then we have something that's a little bit different here. I think the weather record has always been in goCrop a little different from the other types of records, because we used to have that check mark system where you say, oh, I want it applied to just these fields. Well, goCrop will now has a couple of different options. You can choose to apply the weather record to all fields. You can choose to apply to a specific field. And when you do that, when you do choose specific field, then your dropdown will populate with all of your field names. But you can also choose to create a group of fields. And the purpose of this is if you create a group, then you can say, okay, the weather for this group seems to be pretty much the same. And so I want to apply it to this group. And that can become in handy if you've got a big area that you have a lot of your fields on and there are distinct weather patterns. So to do that, to create a group, you press this plus button if you don't have one already. And what I want to draw your attention to now is that it's opened up a second tab. And and it's also moved me to the farm assets section, because that's where groups are also managed. So I'm going to create a group. I'm going to name this group, just so that we know how to track it a little bit, April 25th. And I'm going to say that I want to have these 5 fields all have the same weather records, because they're all in a similar area. So I might actually call this like, April 25th. I wouldn't actually call that. I'd probably call it 2025 like hay fields, if that's what it was, or spring hay fields. And now I saved that. I'm going to close this tab because I want to go back to the form I was just in. And I still have my weather record here, group of fields. And now I'm going to choose from my dropdown the group that I just created. This creation of groups is kind of like goCrop Advanced 2.0 type of feature. So this might not be helpful to anybody, but just in case you did see it and wondered what it was, I wanted to show you how it could be made and talk a little bit about how it could be a useful application. So now I've got my group in there. I'm going to enter some temperature and the rest of my information. And I'm going to click save. So every time I save a record, I get this pop-up that says, hey, your changes have been saved to the weather record. It's wonderful. And I can see that right here that my weather record's created. And I've got the group that it's connected with, spring 2025. So there's a couple other things that I want to show you in the records form. One is that for every record you make, you can see the details by clicking on it. This is also the area where you can edit it if you need to make any changes. If you go into the edit part of the form, you can make changes. And once you make your changes, it'll click save. If you had kept it as the same, you would only see discard because there'd be nothing, or you wouldn't see save because there would be nothing to save. It would be the same. Also, would say discard your changes. When you open it back up, you'll see that it kept my 1 hours, but by clicking the edit button too, it's also an opportunity to delete it. And if you click delete, goCrop does have a safeguard in there. It's going to say, wait, are you sure you want to do this? And you can either choose to say, yes, I want to delete this, or actually, I didn't mean to press that. I want this record, or whatever other form might be open that you might be trying to delete. And just click not now. It'll keep your record. And then I'm going to go back to my records list, pressing go back. And the other couple things that I want to show you here are this new feature that I think you're really going to like, and that's the ability to duplicate or copy records. So this can be really handy if you're applying the same rate of fertilizer to a bunch of your fields. So to do that, but you can only duplicate them one at a time. But to do that, you'll click this check box on the left. And you can see that we also have the option to edit or delete it from here, just a quick connection. And we can also choose to duplicate it, this middle button here. So now it's showing me the record that I want to duplicate, and I'm just going to change the location so that it will now copy everything else over from my circle fertilizer application to my diamond field. Of course, you can also make other changes. You can say, you know what, actually it was 100 pounds of urea, but everything else is the same, and click save. So now that application has shown up here, and you can continue to duplicate this record throughout your other fields if you'd like. I'm not going to do that right now, so I'm going to click go back. The other thing that's really a new feature about goCrop, and you'll see this in all our different sections, planning, records, farm assets, is a number of different filtering options. And so we know that goCrop is filtering the records information right now because it's telling me what it's showing. It's showing me all my records for all types of records from my years 24 and 2025. I also know that it's not allowing some records to show because it's telling me that 2 items are hidden by filters. I can clear the filters if I want everything to show, but I'm going to also show you how to see what's already filtered and what isn't showing by clicking this filter control button, which is this upside down pyramid with the hash marks. And when I open this up, I can see I have a number of different filtering options. I can filter by complete or incomplete records. I don't have an incomplete button here because none of my records are incomplete. And I think part of that is because goCrop works really hard to make sure that you're not saving an incomplete record. We can also filter by different types of applications, or sorry, by different types of records. So these are all the record types that goCrop offers, and you can filter by those. We can see that I've got my year 2025 and 2024, and that my 2 records that are being filtered are from 2020. And I can also filter by location. So that can be really helpful as well if I want to see all applications related to a nutrient source or a particular spreader. So maybe you want to look at just records for the current year for one field. You could but unclick 2024, make sure only 2025 is clicked, click the field you're interested in. You can see in real time that goCrop filters on the side. And to get back to this screen, you have 3 different options. You can click the X up here, you can click down below, or you can just click anywhere on the screen that's not this little pop-out side menu. So I've filtered for just the year 2025 and my circle field. And I can always add a new record from here. And what's kind of interesting about this is that the filtering system stays consistent for when I open up a new record. So this can be really nice if, for example, you want to see all the records for a particular field. I added a new record. I don't want to do that though, so I'm going to get out of that, but the screen is being blocked. All right, so I'm going to go back. And yeah, I think that kind of describes a little bit about the filtering options there. And then there are other filtering options too, where you can search for a particular record, or for either by field or by record type. But before I do that, I'm going to clear all my filters. I'm going to bring everything back so we can see all my record types for all my fields. So to do that, I'm going to press the clear filter button here. And I'm going to show you how we can search for particular weather records. So maybe you want to see all your weather records, and in real time, goCrop is filtering for that. Maybe we want to see all the records for just the diamond field. And now we're seeing all the records for just the diamond field. And then the other way that we can filter records is through the sort controls, which is this this icon on the far right with these up and down arrows. So I'm going to press that. And what's interesting that even though I've clicked this, it's also kept my search terms. So it's still filtering by just the diamond field. And so in order to clear my filters, I can either press the X to get rid of the search diamond filter or the clear all filters. I'm going to do that. And I double click there. So I'm going to go back to my all button there to see my complete list. I'm showing all my records for all my fields, all my assets there. And then to further sort them, goCrop will tell me that this is how it defaults is, and I can do it by type. So this is like really great if at a quick glance, you want to see what all your fertilizer applications were, harvest, manure, and it will list them in alphabetical order of record type. You can go by date. So this is showing us the oldest one first, but we can also sort it so we see the most recent ones first. And then we can also sort by date updated and date added. So these are just different ways to look at your data. And I think most often you'll know what's going to work best for you, and you can just hone in on that way to view. Okay, so I think I have wrapped up the record section here, and I want to switch over to farm assets to show you a different way of entering records. So to do that, I'm going to go to the left and I'm going to click farm assets over here. And you might be wondering, what are farm assets? This is new. This wasn't in the old goCrop. And one thing that we tried to do was define farm assets by showing you what it can filter for. So farm assets houses all your fields, all your manure sources, all your fertilizers, and all your spreader information. Because I want to focus just on records, I'm going to filter the farm assets by just fields. So I'm going to get rid of the spreaders, the fertilizers, and the manure sources. And now I have a list of just my fields. To enter a record from the farm assets, I'm going to click on a field. And now we have these 3 tabs: details, plans, and records. And just like we saw in the records tab, once we click on a specific field, we could see all our fields listed below. And this is a really nice way to like cycle through. But I'm not going to spend too much time on the details section here. This is very similar to what you would have seen in the field info section of old goCrop. And we're going to go right to records because that's what we're focusing on today. So now with records, we have a list of all our records associated by field. So I can see all my records by clicking down below and seeing what records are associated with that. So for each field, I can then go add a new record. Just like we saw in the previous record section, we'll choose a record to add from our drop-down menu. And then it's the same forms that we've seen in records, but because we're accessing it from farm assets and we're accessing it from a specific field, it has a location defaulted for you. But otherwise, all the forms are all the same and their behavior is all the same. One of the neat things, though, about the farm assets is that you can filter information by crop, and that can be really, really helpful. But to do that, you're going to have to go back to your full field list. And to do that, you'll click the All button up here. It's returning me back to the farm assets complete list. But it's still keeping my filter, so I see all my fields. And then I'm going to choose filter, and I can either filter by a couple of different options, right? If it's owned or leased, and then the type of asset, right? We're keeping on field because we're talking about records. And then maybe I want to enter records for just my hay fields, or I want to filter for just my hay fields. I'll click hay. And then I'll close this box so I can see my list. I only have 3 fields that are in hay this year. I'm going to click on one of them. I'm going to go to records because I want to add a new record. And then again, I'll just walk through and add the record that I want to associate with this. What's nice about this layout is if you've got a bunch of hay fields or a bunch of corn fields and you're doing the similar operation by crop, is you can filter for that and then cycle through them and add your new records accordingly. So just to like reiterate, there's a couple of different features to enter records, but you access a couple of those different features from different parts. So in records, you have the ability to duplicate, and in farm assets, you have the ability to filter by, for example, crop, and add unique records for each single field within that filter system. So we talked about records and entering them from both the records and the farm assets. The next thing I want to touch on is how to view your plan. And to do that, we're going to stick in farm assets and we're going to click plans. And as you can see, I've got this field plan checklist. And this checklist is going to be similar to the information, or it's the checklist of the information you've already entered into goCrop. So it's got your field details, your soil test, and your crops. And it's got these nice little icons that let you know what the progress is for each one of those categories. So if it's a little green check mark, that means that all the information is complete. And this is a little bit of a PSA here that goCrop checks for completeness. It doesn't necessarily check for accuracy. So goCrop knows that you've filled out the form for field details completely, but it doesn't know if it's accurate, right? Likewise, it won't know if something's missing. Like if you are actually taking a first cut of hay before you're planting corn silage, and you only put corn silage as your crop, it won't know that it's missing that first cut of hay. If it's open, it is because the past year's credits for this particular field are blank. And then if we have like this little partially filled in circle, that means that it's incomplete. Not everything is filled out. But this is a quick way where you can look at a lot of your information in your plan, and you can look at it for any of your fields. But let's take a look, and then too, if you needed to, you can edit any of these pieces from here with the little pencil icon. But let's focus a little bit more on how to view your plan for 2025. And so to do that, you can look at that in 2 different ways. One is nutrient applications, which is going to display for you what you plan to do, when you plan to do it, right? We're on the hay field, and in this particular field, we're planning on a late August application of manure at a rate of 5 wet tons. We can click that, and we can edit it if we need to. We can see some details like time to incorporation. And if you want, you can cycle through your fields and look at your plans. I want all my fields to display. So even from this screen, I'm going to remove the filter I have for just hay, so I can see all of them. And I've just clicked and changed to my circle field, and you can see that on this field, I've got a bunch of complete sections, but my nutrient applications now have this other icon, and it's a circle with a little line through it, and that means that it's been skipped. And if you ever have any questions about what these icons mean, you can just hover over them and it'll let you know. So here I've got my nutrient applications for my circle field. I've got my planned manure. I've got the planned grazing. In this particular example, I don't have a fertilizer application. Another way to view your plan is also through your nutrient balance. So this is the next section here. And just like in the old goCrop, you're probably very familiar with this table, right? We've got our nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. We have our recommendation generated from the soil type and crop type, and a little bit of soil test, crop type, and sometimes also soil type. We've got our past years, our manure, a fertilizer, planned credits from planned applications, and then the total credits. And the total credits is the sum of your past year's manure and fertilizer applications. And we have a balance, which is the difference between what was recommended and what you planned. Below this table, we have your nutrient and risk indices. Like, these are things that you're probably still familiar with, displayed very similarly to the old goCrop. Got your nitrogen leaching index, your soil phosphorus, your P index, and then what your management is based on. You can see as I'm going through here that some of the rows highlight and some of them don't. When they are highlighted, that means that those rows are clickable. So right now, because none of the rows in my table up above are highlighted, I can see everything that's connected to this table. So I can see my crop details, because that's part of what the recommendations are based off of, my credits. And now this is really nice because we do have more information displayed at a glance of how those credits are determined. Our planned manure and our planned grazing. Maybe I want to see just what goes into my recommendation rates. I can click recommended, and then it's just, and then it filters for just the crop information. If I want to see just my past years, it'll show me that, what my planned manure applications are. And this is nice because here then, when I click this, it also shows me specifically which application it is and how much is being credited per application. And then my grazing manure down here as well. We don't have any fertilizer. And we can also see our Vermont P index information if we click on this row as well. So pretty similar to old goCrop with a couple of extra bells and whistles. So this is how you can access your plan information of what you had planned to do through either nutrient applications at a glance, or if you wanted to have more information with the table, nutrient balancing. One thing that hasn't been released yet, but it will later, is that you probably remember that there was a nutrient management balance based on records. So that would have been a similar table to this, but instead of the balance being generated against recommendations by the plan, it would have been based on the nutrient credits from the record. That's not up yet. That is a feature that will be included and released at a future date, but just doesn't exist. Don't go looking for it. We'll let you know when it's out. So the last couple of things I want to show you are how to access your reports. Because again, that's another way that you can access your plan, see field by field planning, generate your planned manure applications report or your planned fertilizer applications report. And to do that, we're going to go into planning. And part of the reason why we designed accessing reports from planning is because we thought that typically folks will hopefully plan in the winter or late fall. And then after that planning process, generate your report, and you're going to have that printed or hopefully saved on that to a folder on your computer, but you'd have access to that might not be directly through goCrop. So that was our rationale for putting the reports in planning. But once we click planning, and this is the first screen that we came into after we chose our farm to enter into goCrop, we see our annual plan. So you're going to click on the plan year of the reports that you want to generate. In this account, I only have 1 year, so pretty simple, choosing my current year. And then I have this dashboard. And this dashboard's just like the same one we saw in farm assets when we clicked on the field. And this tells us a checklist of what we have complete and what we haven't completed. We also, this is where we can access some of our plan settings. And there's a little bit of nuance to some of this that we'll go over at a different time in another tutorial. But when we go and choose our farm plan route, we've got these 2 tabs, dashboard, which I just described, and also the reports tab. So the reports tab shows us all the reports that we can generate, right? We've got these individual farm reports. Nothing's really changed here. These are all the same reports that you would have seen in old goCrop. As we scroll down, we've got individual field reports for the plan. And then we also have a record log. As you can see, the record log reports aren't quite ready. They're coming soon, but that will be another feature that's released. Or I should say updated to match the V4 format. You'll also see that there's a couple of different labels on the right-hand side. This one says Vermont Nutrient Management Plan, and that's to say, to let you know that these are the reports that are required to meet the requirements for a Vermont Nutrient Management Plan. And then it also has this label of complete. So if there's any missing information, it will show up as incomplete. If you click generate, the generate button defaults to generate all the reports required to meet Vermont reporting requirements. So all these individual farm reports and all these individual field reports. And one of the really, really, really nice things about generating a report in the version 4 is that it happens really quickly. Like that was like nearly instantaneous. Like I was sitting with someone yesterday watching the countdown from 5 to 0, probably go on for like 3 minutes. And so this is something that we're really excited to streamline the process and just make it a little bit easier. So as you generate a report, you can download it, you can open it up as a PDF, you can print it. But this is in general where the combined report is. It's got all the individual reports and also includes all the field by field nutrient management planning. To go back to the reports section, I'm just going to come back here and click my reports tab. If you only want to generate one report, all you got to do is click that row and we'll generate that one report. Again, to go back to the reports tab, click reports. There's also this other button that's called customize. And what customize is really nice for is, let's say you want to print some of your reports, but not all of them, and not just one. So for example, you might want to print your plan summary, your plan manure applications, your plan fertilizer applications, that's it. We'll check what you want, and then you'll generate your custom report. And then those 3 reports are included in my custom generated report. One of the other things I want to show while we're here that is connected to reports is what happens when you have something that's incomplete, just in case this comes up. So to do that, I'm going to go into planning. I'm going to add something that's incomplete, right? So I go into my plan, annual plan, and right, again, you can see I've got pretty much everything done here. All these green check marks, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to add a nutrient source. And I kind of pre-filled this out, and you can see that in my filter system, I've been including only the nutrient sources that I want included in the plan. I'm going to clear the filters. Whoops, I have multiple clicks on that. So I'll come back here and go back to my list. So I cleared that filter. So I'm showing all of my nutrient sources, not just the ones that are included. And we can see here my new pit says not included in plan. I'm going to press this little plus button to bring it back. And now I'm going to go back to my dashboard, go back to that checklist. And when I do that, what I see now is that my nutrient analysis is not complete. And it's not complete because I don't have a nutrient analysis associated with my new pit. So now when I go to my reports, goCrop is telling me that my manure source and my farm nutrient balance are incomplete. But maybe you're like me and you're just rushing through things and you miss that it says incomplete and you're like, well, I want a report, so I'm going to go generate it. goCrop stops you right there and says, you know what? We can't generate a full combined report because we don't have the information we need for the manure sources and the farm nutrient balance reports. I can be frustrated and I can say, try again. And goCrop's going to give me the same answer because it's still not filled out. So I might be like, well, what am I missing? I don't remember. It's been some time since I've been in goCrop. What's not filled in? I go back to reports by clicking on the tab, and I can actually open it up individually, and it will tell me it's because my new pit doesn't have a manure test found in that period. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. And when I go back then to my dashboard and I click nutrient analyses, then I can also further see that my new pit manure test is due. And so there's a couple of checks and balances here to help make sure that things are complete in goCrop.
Hey, Lindsay, we did get a question.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon.
Nancy asked, if planning to get hay crop off before changing crop to corn for that year, will the record report allow to show yields for both harvests? Same when adding nurse crop or cover crop.
Okay, so I think those are two different questions, right? So if you're in records, um, so I guess Nancy, are you talking about records or are you talking about planning? Because if it's about adding records, you can add records for whatever field you want. If it's a seeding record for cover crop, you can definitely do that. You'd have to add your cover crop in as a crop if you wanted to have a seeding record for it. But if you were talking about a harvest record, you would also need to make sure that you have both those crops entered in your plan so that you can have a harvest record associated with them. So my diamond field is in transition, so I might be getting a first cut of hay followed by corn silage. But if I'm in, for example, my circle field, I only have corn silage there. So I would need, and if I had a hay crop there to harvest, I would need to put that into my plan.
Okay,
Sorry, I
so
think Shannon, I saw you unmute. What's up?
yeah, now I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so in the planning, so we want to get a first cut of hay off some fields,
Mm-hmm.
and then put those fields into corn. But whenever you print out a record, it doesn't show the hay that was harvested. Say you got, I don't know, say you got 10, baleage, 10 round bales. There's no place to put that. So I always write it in on the report after, because it's frustrating because when you're doing nutrient planning, when you plan for that field, do you put hay and then go back in and then change the crop at some point, like in transition, like say you harvest in May and then you're going to plant in May, plant the corn. So you've got two crops for that field. Is that possible? I've never been able to print that off on the record. Just
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. So I think that's what I was trying to get at is that, and I think this is what you're saying is you can't associate a record of a crop that's not there. And so when you're planning, maybe you're thinking, oh, I'm planting corn, so I add that corn crop in there, and you're probably planning on getting maybe 20 tons per acre off of it. But you also should be adding in your planning section, in the crop section, a hay crop too. And you might have something for your hay crop that it's going to be a little bit of a lower yield because you're only getting one cut off of it. So if you have both those crops in your plant in the crop section, I'm in my diamond field, then when I go to my records and I go to add a new record, and it's a harvest record. Then I choose my location. I can choose between those crops. And so if you're
Okay.
adding those records there, then they should show up in your reports.
Okay. I haven't done it that way because it says what crop are you planning for that year. I always put in what we're going to plant, and of course, it won't come up in records for the hay part. So um, that's
Right.
historic.
And maybe a way to think about that is like, what are you planning on harvesting this year?
Okay, that
Yeah,
sounds.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're doing a cover crop like on corn, um, so does the goCrop, does that figure the nutrients that are, because that gets tilled in or harvested, but in our case, we usually till it in. Um, so does the nitrogen from that cover crop get added as nutrients? Does the program figure that in?
Um, think that there are ways to add that in. You can, in your crop section, you could add it as another crop, and then it might try to increase the nutrients balance or nutrient recommendations for that. But then we would really have to start thinking about like, are you actually planning on fertilizing the cover crop like a crop? And typically that's not something that um, most folks do. So we, in general, don't include cover crop in your crops section because we don't necessarily manage it like a crop. So
Okay.
another way to account for those nutrients coming from your cover crop would be in your nutrient balancing. And you could look at your nutrient past year's credits. And there might be an option from your that best captures your cover crop, but we don't have a really good cover crop option. I don't think we have a lot of data on that. So like if you had a really, 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 really robust rye cover crop, maybe grass low yield, but in general, I think part of the rule of thumb for cover crop is that it's scavenging nutrients and it's cycling them back in. So, there might be some gain with it, but not a lot necessarily to really change recommendations or add to a credit. And it definitely contributes to soil health, but I just don't know if we have enough data right now quite yet to say, yeah, if you've got 2 tons of rye and you're tilling it in or you're burning it down, here's the level of credit to give for it. We do have data on that um, for hay plow down and for legume crops, but not quite yet for cover crop. Or I guess another way of saying this more succinctly is that there's not an elegant way that goCrop handles credits from cover crops just yet. That was
Okay.
a really long
Okay.
answer
Yeah,
to
well,
get
it's
to that
it's
statement.
kind of confusing, and the same thing with like a nurse crop. So the first cut of any seed down is usually your nurse crop, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be different nutrients. I mean, what do I want to say? It's kind of like a different crop than what you actually um planted for protein. Like if you're planting some alfalfa and clover and different species in your grass crop, but you've got a cover crop of oats, so your first cut might be mostly oats. So it's when you get a yield from that, it's probably, I don't know where you could put like, it's oats.
Yeah. So,
you know,
okay, goCrop does account for that in a couple of different ways. One is that's going to be accounted for in your harvest. So, maybe if you didn't have a nurse crop, your harvest the first year would be 1.5 tons, but with a nurse crop, maybe it's 2.5 tons. So that's one way that goCrop's accounting for that.
okay.
Another way of that is, well, how much legume is going to be a part of the first year of harvest, right? And it might be lower as that legume is growing and the oats are coming in. So maybe the first year, your legume percentage is 35%, but the second year, because the oat's not there and your legume comes through, it might be 60%.
Okay.
Then the other piece that you're talking about there, I think, is the actual forage quality and like how much protein it comes off of that first gut for your livestock. And that's outside the wheelhouse of this part of goCrop's nutrient planning part. That said, we do plan on offering a feed management component of goCrop that will hopefully be released at a later date, and that might help folks fine tune the their feed management plans based off of the forage quality that's coming from their specific fields.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lindsey.
Yeah, and I'm around to answer more questions too as they come up. So I know that we are just a tad bit over time, and I think that it just would to end again by displaying my contact information just in case other things do come up and you have questions about them, ways to contact us or contact me. Just made that screen go black. It's not my intention. And then the website below too, because there's a bunch of resources there to help with nutrient management planning. Other than that, thank you for attending today and seeing the new goCrop navigation, some of our new features. We're really excited about it, and I hope you are too. And remember, goCrop will be offline April 29th, 6 p.m. until May 1st, 6 a.m. And then you'll have brand new version 4 available to you. You don't have to do anything to access it. And please make sure that your records have synced if you're using the mobile app before April 29th at 6 p.m. And I think I can end there. And if anybody has any other questions, I can linger on for a moment.